Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Trinidad and Tobago extends COVID-19 measures for another month. This story takes the lead in the 941st edition of Caribbean Perspective for Monday 14th September 2020. Details after this important message.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. No ease up yet. The most recent COVID-19 preventive measures remain in place in Port of Spain for at least another month. This, as the Prime Minister and health officials say, there hasn't been the drop in cases they were hoping for over the past month. Anselm Gibbs of TV6 News reports.
4 weeks after the latest COVID-19 prevention measures took effect, TNT is still not out of the woods yet.
Because we have not seen the level of reduction that we want to see to allow us to have the level of risk that we want to take.
The latest measures will remain in place until October 11th.
By the 28th, we will have a view which will give us what the month of September look like, and we can compare September with August, and we will then have that other 14-day period going into October. If any adjustments can be made then, we would consider them.
But there have been some adjustments, moving public transport capacity from 50% to 65%, and also adjustments for some workers in government ministries.
All persons in the public service who are required to work on the budget exercise in every ministry and the Ministry of Finance, you are deemed here to be essential and you're required to be at work.
Dr. Rowley says COVID-19 has seen TNT's economy take a $10 billion hit, and he's responding to calls for another lockdown.
The lockdown in itself does not eliminate the virus. What it does is slow down the spread to reduce the effect of the virus on you. Doesn't eliminate it, because after the lockdown, you're going to have to come out again and be where we are right now.
Anselm Gibbs, TV6 News.
Community activist and businessman from one of the areas labeled as a hotspot by police, Frederick Burke, has died. The 45-year-old died at the Couva Hospital in Trinidad and Tobago on Friday, leaving one former government minister hailing him as a patriot. Here is TV6's Urvashitawari Rupnarayan with that story.
Community activist and businessman from one of the areas labeled as a hotspot, Frederick Burke, has died. The 45-year-old died at the Couva Hospital today, and now a former government minister is hailing him as a patriot. Here's Urvashitawari Rupnarayan with the story.
You've got to have a certain mindset to make it in a community like Celots, and it seemed Frederick Burke had it. The 45-year-old had been held and interrogated by police multiple times in connection with various crimes, and every time he walked out a free man. Most recently, he was accused of being a gang leader in receipt of lucrative government contracts. At the time, Burke told media he was a businessman and won without a charge. Today, shock enveloped Celots, Beetham, Mango Rose, and other areas flying the Rasta City flag as one of their own passed away. This time, it was not by the gun, as has become commonplace in marginalized hotspots like these. According to persons close to the community leader, he was feeling unwell last Thursday and went to the West Shore Private Hospital. A COVID-19 test revealed he was positive, and according to sources, due to his persistent symptoms, he was admitted to a state facility where he died. Marlene MacDonald, former Port of Spain South MP, worked closely with Burke for decades. She tells TV6, quote, "For 13 years he labored with me in that constituency. He's a patriot. They could say what they want," end quote. She tells us today, as she said she told the Prime Minister then, it is her constituents who chose her. She did not choose them and therefore has to work with each and every one. Ms. MacDonald tells us how hurt Berkey was when he became the subject of ridicule in 2017 after showing up to an invitation-only event as a show of support. It was at the President's house swearing in of Ms. MacDonald as a government minister. She says, quote, "He was hurt. No one knew the pain. I had to call him to the office and talk to him. After all he did for me as MP, for the PNM and the constituents. He'll be sorely missed." Ms. MacDonald says social media humiliated and mobbed the man refusing to let up, taking his 2017 image taken at President's house and plastering it just about anyway. Berkey's biological mother passed away about 1 month ago, but he had grown accustomed to calling his MP mother. She tells us, quote, "He said to me, 'But mother, I've never been charged, I've never been convicted. Why are they treating me so?'" End quote. Ms. MacDonald last spoke with him last week over the phone, with Berkey asking, "Mother, when will I see you?" She was due to visit him today, a meeting that was just not meant to be. Ms. MacDonald says she feels a sense of loss and it's unlikely there will be one to fill his shoes soon. While sources at the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service tell us they are on the lookout for anyone who will be seeking to fill the void left by Berkey's death, and also any rival gang seeking to capitalize on it. Police presence and patrols have been boosted in certain key areas, our source assured. A close relative to Berkey has since posted a video to social media disputing that Berkey died from COVID-19. Urvashi Tawari Rupnarayan, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Tributes continue to pour in following the death of legendary Calypsonian Sir Rupert King Swallow Philo. He passed away at his home in Willie Keys in Antigua on Saturday at the age of 78. He had been ill for some time. ABS's Kim Emmanuel Baird begins the extensive coverage of the death of the cultural icon with reactions from his daughter.
The nation mourns the death of a quintessential musical genius, Sir Rupert Philo. He was found dead by his daughter Shanette after 5 on Friday at their home. She recaps his final moments.
His last conversation was like this afternoon. I was asking him what's wrong with him. You know, he says he don't know, but he was just tossing and turning. You know, he got some water to drink. And my sister Debbie, she was with him.
His daughter says he seemed uncomfortable before he died. He kept looking at his daughters as if he wanted to say something but didn't. Later, they tried unsuccessfully to get a response or a pulse from him.
Didn't get a pulse, so I ended up calling the ambulance.
And this was about what time?
This was about 5:30, 5:41 was when I called the ambulance.
The legendary King Swallow will be greatly missed all over the world. Shanette says they have received an outpouring of reactions from numerous individuals.
I'm actually trying to ignore calls, but I can't. I really can't. You know, because there's so much people calling.
The family thanks the nation of Antigua and Barbuda for supporting the icon and for all their condolences. He will forever be remembered for his colossal contribution to Calypso. Kim Emmanuel Baird reporting for ABS News.
Meanwhile, on the streets of St. John's, reactions were not scarce as it relates to the passing of this Calypso legend. Here is some of what residents had to say.
We're extremely saddened by the passing of Sir Rupert Philo. I wish to extend my sincerest condolences to the entire Philo family on behalf of the entire Patrick Michael family.
Fire in the back seat! Fire in the back seat! Condolences to the family of the late, great King Swallow. No words can describe the feeling I'm feeling now.
He's an icon. One of the the best come out of Antigua and Barbuda. It can't be no one. Are the best.
I just want to say heartfelt condolences to the family of Mr. Rupert Philo, a.k.a. the legendary Mighty Swallow. He's not only legendary in Antigua, but he's a pioneer.
Over now to Guyana, where GCOM's Region 4 returning officer Clement Mingo and PNCR chairperson Valda Lawrence appeared on Friday morning at the Georgetown Magistrates Court to answer to charges of electoral fraud committed at the recently concluded 2020 general and regional elections. The case has been adjourned to November 16th, 2020. More from Wendell Badri of HGP Nightly News.
On Friday morning, GCOM's Region 4 returning officer, Clement Mingo, was slapped with another charge in relation to electoral fraud, this time being jointly charged with chairperson of the People's National Congress Reform, Valda Lawrence. They both appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court to answer to the charge. Clement Mingo, who had recently been released on $600,000 bail on 4 charges in relation to electoral fraud, allegedly perpetuated at the 2020 general and regional elections, was not required to plead to the indictable charge, but was released on self-bail, however. Speaking with members of the media outside the magistrate's court, Ms. Lawrence shared what constituted the charge.
Just to paraphrase, there's an allegation that I presented Mr. Mingo with a document.
Ms. Lawrence further described the charges as a waste of taxpayers' money and her time.
Not a waste of taxpayers' money and my time. The prosecutors are not ready. They claim that they have several other pieces of evidence which they're putting together.
The case has been adjourned to November 16 to allow the prosecutors more time to gather additional evidence.
And so we have been asked to come back on the 16th of November. The 16th of November. My lawyer has argued that they set a longer date so that the prosecutor will have the time to gather all of the evidence so that when we come back, he can present those pieces of evidence to the court.
Wendell Badri for the HGP Nightly News.
On a related story, this time regarding Chief Elections Officer Keith Lowenfield. He had his case adjourned to October 26, 2020, as a result of an officer of the Director of Public Prosecution's Office not showing up in court.
On Friday morning, Chief Election Officer of GCOM, Keith Lowenfield, appeared at the Georgetown Magistrates Court to answer to 2 charges brought against him in relation to breach of the public's trust and misconduct in office. But the case was adjourned to October 26 as a representative of the Department of Public Prosecutions, DPP, did not show up in court. The parties were given until October 9th to submit all files to the court. Attorney at law, Neil Boston, senior counsel, who represents Lowenfield, said that ultimately the charges brought against the election officer.
He has asked that it should be put down for 1 month to give him a further opportunity to file further statements. We have suggested to the court we can't go on like this indefinitely. If this is going to be the conduct, discharge Lowenfield.
On June 30, 2020, Lowenfield had been charged for misconduct in office by People's Progressive Party member Desmond Marion, and on that same day he was also charged for breaching the public's trust when he declared the results of the 2020 general elections, knowing seemed to be false, by a member, Daniel Josh Kanai, of the newly founded political party, The New Movement. At his first court appearance on July 24th, Lowenfield was granted a combined total of $600,000 bail for both charges. Lowenfield's attorney, Neil Boston, senior counsel, posited that he does not believe the accusers have enough or any evidence at all to charge his client and therefore suggested it is a waste of time. Wendell Badri for the HGP Nightly News.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.